across the island. Now, both new and returning members of Parliament are preparing to take their seats in Gordon House for the start of the new term. Now, the final results have been redrawn, and the map of Jamaica, the map of representation, while the government remains in control, the balance of power has shifted. The opposition has grown stronger, closing the gap more than at any point in recent memory. Now, so what does this mean for Jamaica's democracy? How will a more evenly divided parliament shape debate, decision-making, and the delivery of policies? And with questions raised about the job descriptions and performances of MPs in the last term, how might expectations shift this time around? Tonight we'll unpack the implications of this new political landscape, what it could mean for governance, accountability, and the national agenda in the months ahead. This is Lead Story Prime. I'm Giovanni Dennis. Now here's Andre Jebinson with an overview of the new parliament.
Gordon House will look different when it resumes after the September 3 general election. The chamber will now reflect a political landscape that has been redrawn by the electorate. The most glaring change is the balance of power. When members of Parliament last sat, the Jamaica Labour Party, JLP, commanded a comfortable 49 seats, while the People's National Party, PNP, languished with just 14. Now, the JLP will still sit on the Speaker's right, but with 15 fewer seats. The opposition benches, once sparse, are now crowded with new energy after the PNP rebounded. Another shift is the presence of women. 19 will sit in the new Parliament, 11 on the government side, and 8 in opposition. Among them are Juliet Cuthbert-Flynn, Favour Williams, Olivia Grange, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, and Crystal Lee, alongside a wave of newcomers like Nikisha Burchell, Andrew Perkis, and Heather Miller-Bennett. Fresh energy will also arrive in the form of 15 first-time MPs. 3 of them will wear JLP colours, while the opposition benches will welcome no fewer than 11 rookies. The newcomers include familiar names from civic life and politics: Delano Seavright, Audrey Marks, Steve McGregor, Omar Newell, Dr. Kenneth Russell, and Dr. Alfred Dawes, among others. Notably, the 2025 election also reopened the door for a number of political veterans: Dr. Dayton Campbell, Ian Hales, Dwayne Vaz, Peter Bunting, and Richard Azan, all of whom fell in 2020, return, this time wearing the confidence of a new mandate and accepting Vaz representing new constituencies. But where there are returns, there are also departures. 10 incumbents will not be walking back into Gordon House. Among the casualties are big names like Anne-Marie Vaz, whose defeat in East Portland shocked many, along with former ministers of state Homer Davis and Dr. Norman Dunn. Others such as Donovan Williams, Michelle Charles, Dwight Sibley's, and George Wright also lost their seats. The reshaping of Parliament is further underscored by a transition between chambers. Audrey Marks, Delano Seavright, Delroy Williams, Damon Crawford, and Peter Bunting have all crossed from the Senate to the House of Representatives, trading the appointed upper chamber for the bruising Vote 1 legitimacy of the lower house. Andre Jebinson, CVM News.
All right, so just
Gordon House.
Give an update to that story. No, we did that story the day after the election, and since then, Steve McGregor lost the Kingston Central seat on a recount, with the incumbent Donovan Williams making his way back to Gordon House. So then, we've been speaking about the makeup of Parliament for this parliamentary term. Let's look at how we've been doing since 1993. That's 32 years ago. Now, in 1993, the PNP commanded 52 seats to the JLP's 8. In 1997, 50 seats to the PNP to the JLP's 10. In 2002, it was closer this time, 34 seats to the PNP, 26 to the JLP. Now, in 2007, led by Bruce Golding, the JLP defeated the PNP in that election after 18 and a half years in opposition. 32 seats to the JLP, 28 to the People's National Party. Now, come further, in 2011, the PNP roared back, claiming 42 seats to the JLP's 21. In 2016, closest election and the closest parliament in Jamaica's history, 32-31 in favor of the JLP. So they formed government in 2016. Now coming to 2020, of course, this is the COVID election, 49 to the JLP. This is the largest margin that the JLP has led by since we are checking there since 1993. 49 to the PNP's 14, and now in 2025, 35 to the Jamaica Labour Party and 28 to the People's National Party. So this is a breakdown. That's a breakdown of how the parliament has stacked up since 1993. Now we're looking at women in the House from 1993 to 2025 as well. Now if we look back, and we're looking at now 1993. In 1993, the JLP, they had in Parliament, we're looking at both sides essentially in 1993, less than 5 women members of Parliament coming, and we can see the trajectory here, and it's a steady increase over the years. And this year, of course, we have 19 female members of Parliament. This is up 1 over the last term, which is the most in Jamaica's history. So Jamaica is improving in terms of representation in our parliament. We're now going to be speaking with, and we're speaking about 1993, a member of parliament who has been a member of parliament since around 1994, actually. Fitz Jackson, the member of parliament for Southern, was the member of parliament elect for Southern St. Catherine. He now joins us in studio now on Zoom. We have Andrew Morris of the Jamaica Labour Party. He is the member of parliament elect for Northwest St. Elizabeth. And we have as well Jeanette Calder, the executive director of JAMP. That's the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal. And in a very short moment, we'll be having as well another first-time member of parliament. We have 2 from St. Elizabeth, we have Southwest, and we also have Southeast. So the member of Parliament for Northeast St. Elizabeth, Zulika Jess, will be joining us in studio momentarily. Let's start off with you, though, Jeanette Calder. It's the expectations this parliamentary year are different, especially with the policy of the job description for members of parliament. What are you expecting this term? Jeanette Calder? I think you may be speaking, but you're muted.
I'm so sorry. That's a real amateur move on my part. Good evening, everyone. Yes. MP Morris, MP Jackson. Thanks for having me, Giovanni. Yes, I'm really grateful for your departure, your point of departure being not just the discussion of our MPs, but centering it around a document that is actually a fulfillment, you could say, of a promise made by the Prime Minister, the last administration, to ensure that before we went to the polls, the citizens would be guided by the document known now as the job description for MPs. After all, we are employing MPs through voting. So with that document in place that we've never had before, I would be trumpeting, of course, Giovanni, greater accountability, because citizens have a clearer sense of what it is that we can expect. I won't apologize for the fact that JAM, somewhere between May and June, it did about 11 interviews between radio and television, reminding the Prime Minister of this promise, so we're grateful that he fulfilled it. It is still not a document that we think that will deliver on the level of accountability that the citizens deserve, but there is certainly an emphasis on the Constituency Development Fund to make sure that the constituents who have returned MP Jackson and who have brought MP Morris into the space can ensure that they will be getting more value for that investment of $20 million in the constituency. Outside of that, we also noted that the job description focused on the MPs, that is the lower house, providing what they call regular attendance and active participation in the House. Now, I'm looking forward to hearing from MP Morris and Fitz Jackson how they define that for themselves. But we are looking forward to greater accountability by virtue of having a document that is spelling out for the citizens what the job of our MPs are.
All right, well, we'll be getting some more from Jeanette Calder, but we just want to take a quick break here on Lead Story Prime. We'll be right back, and then with Giovanni Dennis, and with me, 8-time Member of Parliament Fitz Jackson, who is currently the MP-elect for Southern St. Catherine. Beside him, Zuleika Jess, a first-time Member of Parliament. She's the Member of Parliament-elect for Northeast St. Elizabeth. And on Zoom, we have MP-elect for Northwestern St. Elizabeth, Andrew Morris of the JLP. And also on Zoom, Jeanette Calder, the Executive Director of the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal. Now, before the break, Jeanette was speaking to us about what she expects in this new term of our parliamentarians and how glad she was and happy of the fulfillment of the promise to provide job descriptions for members of Parliament. Now, let's look then through what the key responsibilities of our members of Parliament are before we continue, and we'll just bring up a graphic on screen to go through that with you. Now, among the key responsibilities for members of Parliament: review and pass legislation, adhere to the standing orders, protect the integrity and promote public confidence in the office of the Member of Parliament, provide oversight of the executive, represent the interest of the constituency, provide leadership to the constituency of the constituency office, seek intervention to support the development of infrastructure, work the state agencies and local authorities, work with the state agencies and local authorities, develop and maintain channels of communication, so that means your constituents, them supposed to can reach you. Provide appropriate assistance to individual constituents. I want to speak about the needy fund that Ms. Jess spoke about, that she'll be donating her first 2 months of salary to. Implement approved CDF projects, that's Constituency Development Fund projects. Implement systems of efficiency, implement systems to efficiently manage the constituency office. Right, so that's a general overview of the key responsibilities of the members of Parliament. I want to start off and get some comments from our 2 new members of Parliament that are here with us. And we should say that we did invite 2 members of the JLP and 2 from the PNP. 2 from the JLP dropped out on us today. And we do have Mr. Morris on Zoom. Firstly, Mr. Morris, congratulations to you. We're going to begin with the lady who is the rose among the thorns. Ms. Jess, yes. You have made a commitment already to provide a $2 million fund that you'll be funding personally. As well, expound on that.
So one of the important things I recognized from very early as I traversed the length and breadth of my constituency was that there were several persons who were in need. There were persons who were saying to me that they needed funds just to buy medication, just to pay for their prescription, to buy simple things such as grocery. And so it is against that background, especially as it relates to the elderly, the seniors, persons who are pensioners. It was against that background why I decided that I had to step in and ensure that regardless of the outcome of the elections nationally, there would be a fund in place for my constituents to ensure that their needs could be met and could be met regardless of the national picture. So it is against that background why the fund was born.
Let's get a comment from Andrew Morris then, who is your colleague member of Parliament over in Northwest St. Elizabeth. And I'm understanding that we don't have Andrew Morris on. We are having a little technical difficulty with him on Zoom, and so we'll be going to him momentarily. But do you have something similar in place, Mr. Jackson?
Not a fund, but you mobilize support both from allocations in the CDF and through private contribution and your own personal contribution towards the many needs, as my colleague have just mentioned. You see, the truth of the matter is that many people, unless they're out there in the community, where the people are, where the needs exists. You really don't have a full appreciation of the challenges that are before us. And for us, it's not data, it's not statistics, it's real living human beings and their situation. And when you see them and you feel their own pain, you have to find some way to respond. Regrettably, we are not able to respond sufficiently, either in the individual cases or the range of needy situations that exist. And that's what gives you real pain. You go home in the night and you reflect on what you saw, what you felt, and you can't respond in a sufficient way. And even when you are able to respond through allocation that you have, CDF, for example, usually channeled through like the Social Development Commission, because no member of parliament writes a check. You make recommendations against the allocations that you have, and the processing of that is through a state agency. Sometimes the time it takes to render that support, is very long and distressing, especially when there are medical cases, especially when you have some urgent educational needs. You just can't respond. You can't push your hand in a drawer and just take out some money and pay somebody. There's a process that you have to go through. So that itself is a very painful exercise for, and I say all members of parliament, regardless of which side you...
Yeah, because you just like sometimes you just put your hand in a drawer and take out the money and give...
And give to them. You end up sticking it in the pocket. A place you can reach to without any bureaucracy.
Well, speaking about that and the kind of help that you do, the Constituency Development Fund that you alluded to in your speech just now, JAMP is, and this is Jeanette Calder's entity, that's the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal. JAMP tracks what members of parliament do in terms of how you spend some of your constituency development fund and even how you attend parliament. And I just wanted Jeanette just to share with our viewers the work of JAMP in tracking some of what MP Jackson just spoke about in terms of how he spends his money to help people with real problems. But you do an overall check and balance on members of parliament, all of them actually, but you have some difficulties. Explain to us what you do.
Well, contrary to what I think the public thinks, JAMP is really not focused on accountability. I don't think any one entity can do that. JAMP focuses on public financial accountability. Our belief is we want to impact the quality of life of Jamaicans, and if we can impact the money, meaning how it is spent, how it is monitored, how we get value from our taxes, it means then that we would be impacting all the sectors, not just one. So we focus, Giovanni and listeners, on the financial accountability of what government does and how Parliament monitors what government does with our taxes. And in so doing, it starts with the fundamentals of our parliamentarians showing up. Now, our parliamentarians can't monitor government and provide oversight. They can't create good policy, good programs, good projects if they are not in the House. That is their office, showing up for you and I. I know the focus is on the constituency, but one of my one of the things I have been weak in trying to convince our parliamentarians is that I don't buy the argument that is the time that they spend in the constituency, spending $20 million, that's really going to change the life of people in their constituencies. They themselves are correct, Giovanni. That $20 million, you patch a piece of road, it's done. What we believe at JAMP is if they spend quality time in the parliament coming up with programs, coming up with policies that not just impacts their constituents, because when you make policies for all Jamaicans, I think that is where the focus actually needs to be for sustainable change to take place in the lives of Jamaicans. So we track the attendance in the House to make sure that they're showing up for you, and we focus on the committees that deal with the money, oversight of our money. So one of the areas as it relates to the CDF
in 30 seconds, Jeanette, talk to us about the importance of some of these committees that you're referring to, the money, committees that track money.
You have about 6 committees you have 14 committees in the House, 14, 16, but you have about 7 of them that deal with oversight. And most of us, if it's 10 seconds, think of the Public Accounts Committee. We all know the Auditor General audits government, tell us if there is waste and mismanagement. There is a Public Accounts Committee, of which Mr. Jackson has sat on for a while, that has to read those reports, grill the technocrats to find out what went wrong, why was this wasted, why was there the procurement laws not followed, and to hold the technocrats to account. That is one of the key places, let me make this point, that we can actually save Jamaica money so that the people that MP Jackson is so concerned about can actually have billions more of dollars to help them.
Pause
Jamaicans
right there,
don't
Jeanette Calder. I want you to finish that point, but another break is upon us, so when we come back, we'll pick up right there. Speaking with Jeanette Calder, Fitz Jackson, Zuleika Jess, and Andre Morris here on Lead Story Prime. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Executive Director of the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, JAMP, was speaking to us before the break about the importance of some of these committees that manage and look at how the public's money is being spent. And in the break, Fitz Jackson, we're speaking about attendance to these committee meetings. A lot of this, Jeanette Calder has raised concerns over the years and has documented, the attendance of members of Parliament to some of these committees, and when they come as well, how prepared they are. How much of an issue is that in the Parliament right now, attendance to these committee meetings?
I think you find the poor attendance more on the government side, because the many government members in the main believe it's just coming to show up and make up the numbers in support of the government. And the records are there, the level of participation. There are few members in the previous Parliament on the government side who actively participated in the deliberations to shape final decisions coming out of committees. Not just the oversight committees, but even joint select committees that examine bills that comes to the House, which gives members an opportunity to shape what the laws of the country will be and how they impact on our constituents and Jamaicans on a whole.
Beyond the attendance, though, is this concern, this long-standing concern about how prepared MPs are to even contribute when they do attend the Parliament. That's a major concern as well, because some of them are simply unaware of some of the issues in some of these bills being passed, and some of the issues being discussed at the committees as well.
Well, you'll appreciate that different MPs will have strong interest in a particular legislation or the other, and some might be more involved than others. But
you, for example, have a strong interest in the banking sector.
Yes. And if it's an energy bill, our spokesperson in energy will be very much involved. And if it is agriculture or any other sector involved. You see, there are two aspects primarily in Parliament. When you have legislation being debated, the truth of the matter, the debate in the legislation, when they are tabled, is the late stage. If you as a member of Parliament really want to make an input, you have to make that input at the joint select committee level, at the early stage, when the bill comes to the House raw. That's when you're more open to get amendment to what comes before you. So you have to have an interest to participate, and I must make the point.
Right there about the interest to participate. Coming to you now, Zuleika, just as an attorney at law as well. Speaking about this level where bills are presented to Parliament, where amendments can be made, how do you plan to contribute to Parliament legislatively beyond just, what you're doing for your constituents at that level, like your fund, road, water, but actual legislation in Parliament?
Well, I think the key thing is to ensure that we're prepared. We're prepared in the sense that we know the issues. We ought to take the time to inform ourselves of various subject matters that will affect our constituents and how we can make a valuable contribution, because just as Fitz said, it's not just about showing up for Parliament, it's about being prepared to participate and have robust discussions. So for example, I know that I'm interested in making sure that it's easier for my constituents to have titles to their own homes. So I know that I have a duty as a parliamentarian to ensure that legislation, I'm actively involved in legislation touching and concerning matters to do with land and titling and matters of that nature. In essence, I think it is really important for us as new first-time parliamentarians to establish from the very outset to the general public that we're coming with something new. We're coming with a different approach. We're not just there to warm the benches or just to mark our names present, but we're actually prepared to do the necessary hard work and make valuable contribution that will improve the lives of our constituents.
And how will you be taking then, and what mechanisms will you be putting in place to hear the direct concerns of your constituents, that's some of the issues that they would like to see addressed legislatively in Parliament as well?
So I think most of us who would have done the groundwork would know generally what the major issues are for most of our constituents. And so it's really just a matter now of ensuring that you act within the legislative framework and you are able to now make the necessary representation.
As if it's Jackson wanting to come in, but aside from housing, what are some of the other issues of your constituents in particular?
Land, housing, water, road, infrastructure, unemployment. Those are the key issues in northeastern St. Elizabeth.
Jackson.
It's imperative that every member of Parliament appreciates that when you get elected to the House, you're not only a member of Parliament for your constituency and your constituents, you're a member of Parliament for all of Jamaica. And so it is incumbent on us to be participatory as it relates to policies, programs, laws that affects all of Jamaica. I make it clear, I'm interested in health, Cornwall Regional Hospital, because the people who I represent in South St. Catherine, they are not domiciled in South St. Catherine, locked in. When somebody goes and have an accident in St. James, they want to make sure that they have adequate health facilities. So it is of interest to me.
Knock on glass, nobody from a constituency.
Sorry?
No, knock on glass, nobody from a constituency has an accident in St. James.
There's some I've had, and they have experienced the poor health service in other parts of Jamaica. But I just want to underscore the fact that we go to Parliament to represent our constituency in respect to all of Jamaica.
And you and I were speaking about this before the program began, Jeanette, about this idea that members of Parliament can even serve their constituents better when they participate fully in the Parliament, contribute to bills, make meaningful submissions, and just read and be prepared. And it's the same point now being echoed by Jackson. How important it is, do you think, for members of Parliament, even those on the back benches, to make these kinds of meaningful contributions legislatively in Parliament?
It's extraordinarily important. And I really want to say I commend MP Jess for that very compassionate gesture. I keep saying to folks, if your MP don't start out feeling your plight, they will not be incentivized to go into the House to figure out, how can I solve this problem? So it really begins with this heart of compassion. However, what MP Jess is doing is not sustainable. I don't think so. And where JAMP comes from is the perspective that if members of Parliament really did their work on those committees, particularly in overseeing how funds are spent, particularly paying attention to anti-corruption reports on waste, mismanagement, and fraud, I guarantee that Ms. Jess and no MP needs to dip into their pockets. There is more than enough money that we could save from lost, fraud, and corruption that could be invested back into the Jamaican people if the 63 MPs coming into the House are serious about it. And I'm willing to go on the record. I'm willing to debate it publicly. I'm willing to bring my facts. JAMP is not of the view that to date we have ever seen anything in the House that suggests that there is any real fight against waste, mismanagement, and fraud. I cannot take that back. So the most important thing, Andrew, MP Morris, who was here and dropped off, the new Zulwika Jess, Jackson, that brings a wealth of experience, can do for Jamaicans, leave all the same projects, programs, and policies to watch our money and make sure that we reduce the waste, the mismanagement, and fraud. We will have enough to do spark programs. Let me just give Jamaica some facts here. They say that Jamaica, for example, loses 5% of its GDP into corruption. Let's half that and say they're exaggerating, 2.5%. I just checked what is our last rating, what is our last GDP figure. That's $80 billion Giovanni, that would be, if I half it, $80 billion that we're losing, and I don't add waste and mismanagement or yet. So I'm trying to get the Jamaican people to see that going in and sitting on the PAC is one of the most important things that they can do. I've been watching the Public Accounts Committee since 2016, and one of the faults that I find is there is no mechanism in the House to track the reports that the Auditor General comes about the waste mismanagement and fraud. We have these meetings and there is no mechanism in the House for the Public Accounts Committee to follow up Giovanni and say, okay, has the PS fixed the problem? Which is why we keep seeing the headlines over and over again. So that's where our focus is, and that is where I think that the MPs can not only serve Jamaica, since we all pay their salaries, but best serve their constituents who put them in the House.
How can the average Jamaican participate in this? Because Jamaicans will be listening now and hearing you say you've been tracking the PAC for however many years and thinking, how can I participate in something like that? How can I play my part?
I love that question. I want to encourage Jamaicans to start at the local level. Start at home where you are, where you're first gonna feel the impact, where you're gonna walk past somewhere and feel good about the difference that you made. And that is why the Constituency Development Fund is where I would say begin to engage your MP. Begin to build your muscles to engage and to understand the money at the local level. So your constituency gets 20 million allocated per year. Most citizens don't know there are 6 categories, and there's a certain amount the MP have to spend on infrastructure, local economic development, a certain amount on education. Find out about this fund. I can guarantee you MP Fitz Jackson is a regular in making sure that he meets with his constituents. Come to the meeting. Tell him that you want some money. Sports get a certain amount of that money, has to. Tell MP Jackson and MP Jess that we need a little bit of a basketball court so the young man them can get some of their energies off. See it happen. Feel good about it. Realize that when you engage, it matters. And here's the next important thing. While you come to those consultation meetings that take place every 2 years, watch the money. Ensure that your MP at the end of a year provides you with a report as to what he did or she did with that $20 million. JAMP has been trying to collect those reports for 5 years, and only 10 out of 63 MPs are willing to say, okay, we got 20 million, this is what we did. The public can begin by helping JAMP and writing your MP and saying, I want the report. So let us start there at the CDF. Go to the meetings, tell them what you need, and then demand the accountability. Show me what you did with that 20 million. I'll close by saying, there's some MPs who it is disgraceful and shameful that $20 million allocated does not even get spent each year. So get involved and ensure that it is spent and that you see where the money went by means of a report at the end of that year.
Well, we certainly want to hear how Zulika Jess plans to spend her CDF funds allocation and how MP Jackson has been spending his and what he plans to do in the upcoming term. Stick and stay with us here on Lead Story Prime on CVM TV. I'm Giovanni Dennis. We're talking the new parliamentary year that's about to begin very soon. Stay with us.
Protecting Jamaica's borders is a key priority for the Jamaica Customs Agency. The JCA will remain vigilant and resolute in effectively fulfilling this mandate. The time brought to you by the Jamaica
Parliament that's about to be sworn in, and we're talking to members of Parliament elect. We have from Southern St. Catherine Fitz Jackson, who is a 8-time member of Parliament actually. To be 8, 7th now, to be 8 soon, and first-time member of Parliament, Zulika Jess. And in case you're just joining us, we did invite multiple members of the Jamaica Labour Party to be on this program, at least 2 or 3 of them confirmed, and at the moment we do not have any. We did have Andrew Morris from Northwest St. Elizabeth, the Northwest St. Elizabeth elect member of Parliament, but he's not able to join us because there are technical challenges. Before before the break, Jeanette Calder of the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal was speaking about the need for constituents to engage their members of parliament to find out how their CDF funds are being spent and to raise specific issues that they want to address. And in the break, Zulika and Fitz Jackson were sharing differing views on their experience with community members participating in the process. What's it like for you, Fitz Jackson?
In the early years, it was very, very strong. Very, very strong. But over years, when, maybe the successes contribute to that, when you respond to many of the issues, people don't see the need to come out anymore. When there are stark needs and expectations, people will come out. I've seen it in my own constituency has gone less, which is unfortunate. And it makes it...
What exactly has gone less?
The participation in the citizens associations, which are the primary entities for arriving at consensus at communities. For me, it's very dangerous.
Pause right there. So we'll often see on the news, and I've been doing this for more than 15 years now, protests by community members. They block the roads and it's about the MP not do nothing, and whether it's water or bad roads, those issues are raised. But what you're saying now is that even when you have these sorts of consultations that we want to engage citizens
in planning and going forward,
the
right.
support is
yes, because
paltry.
the danger, don't speak to any one person in a community and arrive at any decision. It's dangerous. You have to try to arrive at some consensus around critical community issues so that whatever you decide to do, whatever you decide to expend on, it will provide the optimal benefit to the community. And you can't get a collective decision if you don't have the level of participation on a regular basis.
So how do you decide what you focus on in your constituency?
There's some things you really don't need a community consensus around. The road is bad. You don't need a meeting to determine that. I'm talking about the developmental things which are not immediately hitting the eye that you want to go forward.
Like what?
Probably even sports facilities. Because even that too, you have to bear in mind. I've had the experience, unfortunately, build a number of facilities because individuals and groups come to you and say they need it. And it's not utilized.
Like what?
Courts.
A basketball court, netball court?
Yes.
Not being utilized?
Not being utilized. I have instances of those when you could have probably put it somewhere else and better utilized. So to get the consensus and the ownership at the community level. In my experience, the communities where there are strong community ownership of these infrastructure are the ones that are better utilized and better maintained and preserved.
So then, on that point, pause, because there is another point that I do want you to expound on in terms of you not even wanting to have the CDF, but I do want to hear from Zulika just though, in terms of your own plan to involve and to speak with your constituents, to consult with them in terms of how you'll be using your constituency development fund.
So we were speaking earlier about how different constituencies are. And I made the point that in northeastern St. Elizabeth, I am blessed to have a constituency that is very politically involved. And so they want to be part of the process. They want to be part of the decision making that takes place. They want to decide which roads will get fixed and the order of priority. They want to decide how the funds for education will be allocated. So for me, I know that it is critical for us to have a broad-based consensus, and I know that persons from the communities will be reaching out because I have not been sworn in as yet, and persons are already calling and asking me, when are we going to have a meeting to discuss these issues? I am already getting calls. I'm being asked about town hall meetings. I am being asked about critical issues. And I've said it before that I believe when you have a constituency that is so charged, that is so really interested in making sure that the constituency is developed and developed well, you get more done because it keeps me on my P's and Q's. It makes me know that there is no room for complacency because persons are sitting there and watching and waiting to see how we address the needs and how we address the issues. So I don't have the same issue that Fitz has. And I want to make one quick point. I am of the view that the CDF is perhaps one of the better policies that came about in the last, 20 years?
Yeah,
My only...
2007.
2007,
Yeah.
2020. Yeah. My only concern, and Fitz can correct me, but I believe that when the CDF was first introduced, the allocation was 40 million?
Initially, and then it dropped.
Initially, and that was 27 years ago. I'm of the view that $20 million today...
2007
2007, it was 40 million.
I'm sorry, that's 18 years ago, not 27.
Oh, 18 years ago. See? I'm following you about 27.
So we're having different views, because you're saying it's one of the best things to have come about.
I believe so.
But Fitz Jackson saying he wants nothing to do with the CDF at all.
No.
And Jeanette has another view altogether.
Caveat to that. CDF was brought about to provide a response mechanism or capability for members of parliament because of the failures in central government. Everything that a member of parliament does through a CDF allocation is the responsibility of an existing ministry or agency.
Pause right
It
there.
is their failure
Can I
to
say
respond
something?
in the particular constituency where the member of parliament have to deal with those needs before their eyes every day, and that agency is non-responsive. So I'm not saying I wouldn't want anything to do it. I would love if the ministries will be responsive fully, then there won't be no need for the CDF. In the absence of that, yes, we need to have the
Can I
CDF.
comment?
Jeanette Calder, you've
comment on
been
that?
itching to come in on this point.
I really have been, because one of the things that puzzled me, I mean, there is truth to what MP Jackson has said, and without a shadow of a doubt, he is the MP with the experience of many years here. But when I tried to find out how the CDF worked, 26 agencies are at the disposal of the citizens when these development plans are made to implement and execute their wishes. So the very same central government that MP Fitzjackson is saying is unresponsive is the very same agencies who end up in any case responding to the CDF requests. So I believe that this is a discussion, we only have a few more minutes on the clock, but we really have the same entities in either way, in either case, who's actually going to execute the needs, whether it's coming through the CDF or whether it's coming through Central. So I think, Giovanni, that is something there that has to be unpacked. It's very obvious. Maybe it's the process. I, for one, think there's a downside to CDF because there is a culture of patronage that it encourages and a dependence. Zuleika started with 2 million. We move it to 40. You know, every workshop I have, people think the MP gets that money. The MP don't get it. It never goes into the hand of the MP. It comes from OPM, going straight to the entity who is going to execute, whether it's the road or the basketball or whatever they need. So I'm just saying that to say that I hear what MP Jackson is saying, but it's the same agencies that are going to respond. And if they can respond when it's the CDF, I beg of us to recognize they can do it from Central. I don't think we want to increase that money any bit more to increase the patronage.
But worse too,
can
they
come back
charge
and
a
talk
fee.
about that a little bit more. And they charge a fee, 5%.
We're just about out of time, just about 2 minutes to go. But it's a new parliamentary year. We've more than doubled what a member of parliament now gets. Should be requiring more of them than just the basic, which is essentially what we've been talking about, Jeanette Calder.
Let me just give them one quick example before we go. We have a committee, I asked about the committees a little earlier. We have one called the Infrastructure and Physical Development. Do citizens know that the standing orders of the House says that if a citizen or a community is having problems with water, having problems with road, any kind of infrastructure, and you're not getting it addressed at any of the levels you have tried, do citizens know that they can write to Parliament and ask that committee to meet with them so that that matter can be looked at and dealt with the weight of Parliament behind them? Citizens don't know that.
But according to Fitzjackson, Jeanette Calder, the members of Parliament won't necessarily even attend those committee meetings.
Yes.
Well, that is for another level for us to now discuss it with the Prime Minister, the business leader on both sides of the House. But the point I'm making, Giovanni, citizens don't even know that. I bet you if citizens were educated by their MPs to really know the benefits like that, these citizens would lean in and demand it. But you can't make a demand if you don't empower them. So Zuleika, MP Jess, MP Jackson, educating your constituents is part of your job. JAMP is at your disposal. I would love to come and empower and enable them, because if the citizens make a demand, Giovanni, those committees will meet. That's not happening at this point in
Just
time.
about
Fair
time to get
enough?
final comments from you, Fitz Jackson, and also Zulika Jess. Major issues for you this parliamentary term that you want to have addressed for your constituents?
Well, for me, the priority has always been education, and that will continue to be the case. Education. For me, over the terms
Education is very broad. What do you mean
No.
specifically?
for example, we have schools in our constituency, whether it's early childhood, primary.
Okay, so education. For you, Zulika Jess?
Education is critical, but also for me, land titling is important. Too many persons are living on land for which they have no title, and therefore they cannot get the full use and benefit of having a registered title. So that's key.
So many issues to discuss, so little time. We're absolutely out of time here on Lead Story Prime. I've been speaking with the members of Parliament elect for St. Catherine Southern and St. Elizabeth Northeast, Fitz Jackson and Zulika Jess, and on Zoom we have been speaking with Jeanette Calder, the Executive Director of the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal. And just again to say to our viewers, we did invite and they did confirm members of the Jamaica Labour Party.
But only the PNP members showed up.
I'm not going there with you, Mr. Jackson.
I'm there.
I'm Giovanni Dennis, and this has been a Lead Story Prime here on CVM TV. Stay with us.